Well, on this Food City Friday, we are getting you ready for Easter. It is coming up next month. It'll be here before you know it, and Chef Julie is going to share a favorite, an old-timey recipe.
It is. I was telling you how old this mixer is. It is at least 33 years old. I think it's about 35. So it's still cooking. I told you I've lost first gear, but it still works.
We're missing a knob.
We're missing some knobs, but it works. And it came with this little cookbook with it, and it had a recipe called 60-minute rolls. And I've made that over the years, and I was thinking about today and wanted to do something fun for Easter that people would enjoy for Easter, and these are just adorable little bunny rolls. They're so cute, and it's like, what would be better than 60-minute rolls, because you can use the 60-minute roll recipe as well for any kind of roll you want to shape it in any way you want, but you honestly can start and have it out of the oven in about 60 minutes, which for a yeast bread's pretty fast.
I was going to say, and that's including yeast.
That's including the yeast. Now there's a few little tricks, and I'll explain as we go along, but I'm using bread flour, and if you go to bakingwithjulie.com, I have the recipe on there so you won't miss a thing, but I have about 4¼ cups of bread flour in here, and we're going to add about a teaspoon of salt, and I like to use kosher salt, and then we have this yeast. Now Food City has this wonderful called platinum yeast in these little bags, which is really, really good. So if you want the good stuff, get the platinum one. That's really nice. And this one uses 2 packages.
Okay.
Now that's the part of the trick, because you got a little extra yeast, so it rises a little bit quicker. So anyway, now I am going to just use the best tools that God gave us.
I was going to say, I know she's going to go either that or second gear, because first gear doesn't work quite as well.
No, I'm just going to stir this around real quick with my hands. If you use this instant yeast, you don't have to soften your yeast first in water.
Okay.
You can just put it straight in the flour and just move on. So that's another little time saver. Okay. So now we're going to turn it on, and I'm just going to pour in. Oh, I should tell you what's in here. There's a half cup or a cup of milk, and I like to use whole milk, a half cup of water, and a 1/4 cup of butter. And you put it in the microwave. I heat it for about a minute if my milk is cold. Heat it for about a minute, and it'll be really nice and just perfectly warm, about 120 degrees.
Okay, so just warm, you don't want it hotter.
Yeah, the butter doesn't have to melt all the way. You don't want it too hot, so you put your finger in there. If it feels like a nice warm bath, it's perfect. Okay. Okay, if it's too hot, ouch, just let it cool a little bit, because you don't want to kill your yeast. So we're just going to pour this in. It doesn't take long to do this part.
And you said important to use bread flour. You were telling us some
you can,
tips with flour.
Bread flour is better. Now you honestly can use all-purpose if that's what you want to do, but the bread flour will give you a better structure. Okay. And it's it's right there in the same section of the store. Yeah. As all the rest of it. Now we're not going to let this go forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. But we'll let it go here for a little bit. It takes about 7 minutes for it to go, but I want to get it to where at least it's cleaning the bowl so you can see what that's like. Okay.
And you said this whole recipe, start to finish, will take about an hour?
Yeah, it's about an hour total. Usually, bread has to rise for a long time,
and there's nothing like when it comes to Easter. I was telling you, I always look forward to the rolls. When somebody makes those rolls, they just taste so much better.
Just coming out of the oven, the whole kitchen smell, the whole house begins to smell. You see how this is starting to come together?
Yeah.
It's starting to come together. It's coming together
around a little bit.
Yeah, I'm going to add just a touch of water here.
Okay.
Now, I will say, moving around, sometimes your mixer will get legs and walk. I've had to walk off the counter, y'all. That is no good.
That just means it's all clumping up together.
It's all clumping together. Of course, the dough hook does it. Now, if you don't have a fancy stand mixer or a 35-year-old stand mixer like I do, you can do this by hand. It's fine. You would just do it by hand. Oh, see how it's come real nice?
Yeah,
see
very nice.
So that's cleaning the sides of the bowl, and we're going to want that to go for a little while. We're not going to make this go and go forever, but basically when you're done, you're going to have a dough. It'll come together, and it'll feel like baby skin when it's done. That's the best way I can explain it, y'all. It's just the gluten has formed in there, and it's made this nice smoothness. You can really feel when the dough has come together. That's one thing I love about baking bread. It's very tactile. And so you interact with it, and it's something that's actually alive because you've got the yeast in there that's starting to work for you and all of that. And once you get to that point, you're just going to take it, put it in a nice ball, and I just let it rise right here in my bowl. I take it out, and I put a little spray in there so the sides of the bowl are, kind of lubricated. And you put your dough down, then you turn it over so the top has a little bit of sheen on it so it can expand and raise well. Cover it with saran wrap, and in about 15 minutes
15 minutes.
You go to step 2.
All right, and we're going to go to step 2 coming up a little later on in the show, so stay with us. She's going to show us how to turn your dough into these cute little bunnies for Easter. As she said, that recipe, more information, other videos, you can find it all on her website, bakingwithjulie.com. For more on the products, foodcity.com.